Korang mungkin pernah nampak komen-komen dari negara jiran yang selalu cakap Malaysia ni negara miskin, tak ada sejarah dan macam-macam lagi. Semua komen tu seolah-olah nak gambarkan yang Malaysia ni tak lebih baik daripada negara jiran. Selama ni ramai orang mungkin fikir Malaysia ni negara kecil yang biasa-biasa je. Lagi-lagi kalau dibandingkan dengan Indonesia yang wilayahnya jauh lebih luas dan mempunyai sumber alam yang sangat banyak. Dari situlah ramai mula anggap Malaysia ni sebenarnya tak banyak benda yang boleh dibanggakan. Malah ada juga yang kata Malaysia tak mempunyai sejarah yang panjang dan tak banyak peninggalan menarik yang boleh dilihat. Cerita macam ni memang selalu muncul dekat media sosial, terutama bila orang mula membandingkan negara kita dengan negara jiran. Tapi korang tahu tak? Benda macam ni rupanya buat ramai orang barat jadi curious. Diorang mula nak tahu, betul ke Malaysia macam yang selama ni diorang dengar? Betul ke negara ni miskin, tak ada sejarah dan tak berapa maju? Bila diorang datang sendiri ke Malaysia, diorang pun terkejut sebab apa yang diorang jumpa kat sini rupanya jauh berbeza dengan apa yang selama ni dikatakan oleh orang-orang dari negara jiran.
When all your friends think that you're living in a poor country, but then you show them this.
I might sound stupid, but people kept telling me that Malaysia is such a young country and it doesn't have enough history. Here in Malacca, what I'm reading here says 1600. Okay, let me show you. As you can read, it says the port of Malacca in 1660, right? And if you think it was a jungle, I'm sorry, but already it was a town. And you can even see the tower. The history of Bastion Victoria, you can see the date shows 1641. 1641, this town is at least 400 years of history. That building says 1753. That's more than 300 years ago. So next time someone said something stupid, just ask them to do a little bit of research.
Ya, kita boleh tengok dalam video tu. Ramai orang barat datang ke Malaysia dan puji macam-macam kemajuan yang ada. Bandar yang moden, pengangkutan awam yang dah jauh lebih baik, sampailah kepada sistem pentadbiran yang lebih efisien. Semua ni sebenarnya menunjukkan yang anggapan Malaysia ni negara miskin dan ketinggalan memang tak kena dengan realiti. Malah bagi ramai orang barat, Malaysia sebenarnya antara negara yang paling underrated sebab kemajuan negara kita jarang sangat mendapat perhatian dunia. Padahal dari segi ekonomi pun, Malaysia memang antara negara yang paling maju kat Asia Tenggara.
When people think of Southeast Asia, they think Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, maybe Bali, but why doesn't anyone talk about Malaysia? It's hands down the most underrated country in Southeast Asia. Let me tell you why. For starters, Malaysia is a cultural melting pot with a ton of Chinese, Malay, and Indian influence. This results in a super rich cultural experience that you might not find in more homogenous countries in Southeast Asia. Which leads me right to my next point, the food. Everybody knows about the street vendors in Thailand and the hawker stands in Singapore, but did you know Penang, Malaysia has 61 entries in the Michelin Guide? And the best part is most of these dishes only cost $2 to $3. I'm not sure if there's a better street food destination in the world. And if that's not enough, Malaysia has some of the most beautiful natural landscapes like the Cameron Highlands or the Taman Negara rainforest, beautiful beaches of Langkawi, underwater treasures at Sipadan. It's also one of the only places in the world you can see one of these guys in the wild. Can you imagine? If you're not big on nature, Kuala Lumpur is one of the most modern cities in the world. We found it to be so much cleaner, safer, and honestly a little less expensive than places like Bangkok or Saigon. With costs rising in Thailand and Indonesia, the bang for your buck in Malaysia is unmatched. It's one of the only places you can still get a nice hotel room for $20. Malaysia's awesome. I don't know why so many people skip it, but keep that in mind for your next trip to Southeast Asia.
Want to know one underrated sign of a healthy economy? When the local themselves constantly travel inside their own country. Most people think Malaysian tourism is only about foreigner tourists, people flying from overseas, going to famous places, and yes, cities like Kuala Lumpur, Georgetown, Penang, Malacca, Johor get a lot of it. But what actually impressed me living here is the internal tourism that's happening. Malaysians travel, and they travel a lot. People travel across states, they take motorcycle trips, they go to small towns, they visit beaches, mountains, food spots, and even villages. And that actually says something very important about a country's economy. Because when people are traveling inside their own country, spending money locally, supporting hotels, restaurants, cafes, shops. That money keeps moving inside the system. And because of that, places that most foreigners never even heard about starts growing. Small towns become alive, local businesses survive and thrive, and hidden places develop naturally. And honestly, I think that's one reason why Malaysia feels balanced more than people realize. A country becomes stronger when their own people believe in exploring it.
Dan bukan setakat pembangunan yang dah sangat maju kat rantau Asia Tenggara, ramai juga yang kata Malaysia dah boleh disamakan dengan beberapa negara Eropah. Malah, ada yang berpendapat Malaysia mungkin lebih baik daripada sesetengah negara Eropah.
I'm a Malaysian who lives in France, and every time I come home to Asia, I am floored at how technologically advanced Asia is compared to Europe. Now, obviously, countries like France and the UK are superpowers that had a lot of colonies, still have some colonies, and have built a lot of wealth over hundreds and thousands of years. And so these countries will always be more advanced in certain ways. But just in terms of technology that everyday people use to make their lives more convenient, Europe is so far behind. So for example, at the airport in Kuala Lumpur, when I landed this time, I didn't notice it on my last trip, maybe it's a new thing. Now we have QR codes that Malaysians can use to have a faster passport gate process. E-gates, it used to be only for Malaysians, but now it's for everybody. So, well, everybody with a biometric passport. So you might have a European Union passport, or you might have an ASEAN, because Malaysia is part of the Southeast Asia Union. And if you have one of those passports, I think a bunch of other countries, you can use the e-gate. Already e-gate, multiple countries can use it, not just our union. So good. But for Malaysians, we can also generate this QR code with an app. You have to scan your passport and your face and everything, but you can just scan a QR code. You don't even have to take your passport out of your bag. Scan your QR code, and then it scans your face, and you're through. And because it's only for Malaysians, the queue is really short, and the machine actually says, "Welcome home." Like, what? This is so cool. It actually says, "Selamat pulang," which is welcome home in Malay. And I'm just like, this is so cool. I could make a whole separate video about how banking in France is so hilariously outdated. So, for example, I cannot do a cash deposit to my own account. Let's say I've accidentally withdrawn too much money and I want to put the cash back into my account. I can't simply do that in France because I opened my bank account with a certain French bank at the Normand branch, and I live in the Paris region. So if I tried to use the Paris bank to deposit that money back into my own account, it would take 7 days because the bank would consider it an international transfer. One time my friend wanted to send me money for something, and she asked me for my RIB, which is like I have to download the PDF document from my online banking with all my banking details, send her this document, and then she will bank in the money to me, and it may take 2 days to clear. What? In Malaysia, let's say I go out to dinner with my friends, and then we want to split the bill. My friend pays first, and then to pay my friend back, she just shows me a QR code from her banking app. I scan the QR code, and then I can input the amount of money, like at the exact amount that I need to transfer her, and it's done like that, on the spot, instant. Also, for example, so many things are cashless and paperless in Malaysia now. Like our parking lots, if you go to a building or a shopping mall and you drive in, and then the sensors will detect your license plate. You drive in, you park, and then you exit, you can just use your debit card to tap on the parking machine on the way out. You don't have to find the parking ticket machine to put cash into it to pay your ticket. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have, there's no paper ticket. It just detects your car, you drive in. And then when you leave, the sensor will tell you how long you've spent in the building, and then you just tap your card to pay. All the buildings in the Kuala Lumpur region have been upgraded to this parking system. It's so convenient, and so it doesn't matter how far away you park from the door or how close to the exit or whatever, because you just have to pay on your way out with your own debit card. Like, it's so easy. And when I think about the fact that in France, like when I do groceries with my husband at the big like hypermarket mall, like if we don't spend a certain amount of time in the building, sometimes the ticket doesn't want to read or tries to charge us too much because we didn't spend the minimum 10 minutes, or like just the fact that it's a paper ticket is already so funny. As somebody who has lived in 2 different countries, I know that it's pros and cons of each country. It's pros and cons, right? You cannot have the pros of one country in another country. That's how it works. But I think what is weird to me is the fact that European nations are much wealthier than, for example, my country. I come from Malaysia. Like in Southeast Asia, only Singapore is considered a wealthy nation, right? But Malaysia is an upper middle income country, and if you live in a city in Malaysia, you live a very comfortable life. And it's just very weird to me that despite the fact that Malaysia is not as wealthy as a country like France, France is so behind. Certain things that should make an everyday citizen's life more convenient. That's the weird part. Anyway, I live in France, and it has great culture and amazing food and croissants and an amazing healthcare system. Like, there are things that I appreciate, obviously, about my adopted country, but I cannot not mention how great Asia is in terms of technology.
Ya, semua benda ni sebenarnya dah cukup untuk tunjuk yang Malaysia bukan lagi sekadar negara Asia Tenggara yang biasa-biasa. Negara kita dah berkembang jauh dan mula menyamai standard beberapa negara Eropah. Kalau kita nak bandingkan dengan negara jiran, sebenarnya ada banyak kelebihan yang kita ada. Memang kita semua tahu negara jiran mempunyai sumber alam yang sangat besar. Tapi dari segi ekonomi, pembangunan, sistem perkhidmatan awam dan macam-macam lagi, Malaysia sebenarnya jauh lebih ke depan. Contohnya macam ringgit. Nilai mata wang kita jauh lebih kuat berbanding mata wang negara jiran. Lepas tu, dari segi perkhidmatan awam pula, negara kita mempunyai pelbagai sistem pentadbiran dan perkhidmatan digital yang dah disepadukan dengan lebih baik. Kalau korang nak tahu, dekat negara jiran, urusan subsidi masih lagi agak berterabur. Tak ada sistem yang betul-betul bersepadu. Berbeza dengan Malaysia yang dah banyak menggunakan teknologi digital untuk memudahkan urusan rakyat. Dari segi infrastruktur pula, negara kita jauh lebih baik. Dekat sesetengah kawasan di negara jiran, kalau korang masuk ke kawasan kampung, masih boleh nampak jalan tanah yang becak dan susah nak dilalui. Nak lalu dengan kereta pun susah, apatah lagi nak berjalan kaki. Itu baru kita cakap pasal sistem pentadbiran dan pembangunan. Belum lagi kalau nak sentuh soal peraturan, kemudahan, teknologi dan macam-macam lagi. Jadi dari sini kita boleh nampak satu benda. Semua komen yang selalu kita nampak dekat media sosial tu tak semestinya menggambarkan realiti sebenar. Malaysia sendiri dah membuktikan yang negara kita bukan lagi sekadar bersaing dengan negara-negara Asia Tenggara. Kita dah mula bergerak ke tahap yang lebih tinggi dan bersaing dengan negara-negara Eropah.